Men, let's establish a difficult truth right now. You think cheating means bodies. You think infidelity requires proof you can find on a phone or a hotel receipt. You're wrong. Women know betrayal starts long before that. It starts with a simple, invisible shift in emotional energy. It starts when she stops opening her soul to you and begins redirecting that vulnerability towards someone else. This is emotional cheating. It's the silent threat you can feel in a room but can't name. It's the conversations that happen on her phone, not in your home. It's a slow, quiet detachment that poisons the foundation of your relationship without ever leaving a physical trace. By the time you notice the distance, her emotional loyalty isn't yours anymore. This isn't about blaming women. This is about providing men with a psychological decoder ring to understand the invisible boundaries being crossed. You need to see the cues she won't admit, the behavioral shifts that speak volumes more than her polite words. Why is this crucial? Because most men lose themselves chasing the symptom. The arguing, the mood swings, the coldness. They never see the cause, the emotional investment she has already transferred. In this video, we're going to expose the 9 hidden signs she's emotionally cheating. We will analyze the moment she moves her heart out of your shared space and into a fantasy she's building with someone else. Watch until the end, because you need to understand that the pain of emotional absence cuts far deeper than any physical betrayal ever could. This is your wake-up call. Stop looking for a smoking gun. Start listening to the silence. Let's decode the female emotional code and empower you to deal with reality, not the illusion she's selling. It's time to see what's truly going on right under your roof. 1. The trust transfer. She shares her emotions with someone else. The first, and most subtle, sign of emotional infidelity is the redirection of emotional energy. Men often dismiss this as harmless. He's just a male friend. Everyone needs to vent. But you must understand the powerful currency of emotional vulnerability. In a healthy relationship, the partner is the primary emotional container. You are the first person she turns to for comfort, for sharing anxieties, and for celebrating small victories. This act of sharing is not just communication, it's an investment of trust and intimacy. Every emotional burden she hands to you reinforces the bond. When a woman begins turning to another man to discuss her stress, her relationship issues, or how distant you've been, she is initiating a trust transfer. She is telling him secrets and sharing feelings that, by natural relationship contract, belong to you. This is an intimate act, far more so than a casual dinner. The danger lies in the psychological reciprocity. He listens, he validates her feelings. He makes her feel understood, in a way she feels you currently don't. This validation quickly becomes an emotional reward, and she starts chasing that reward from him. Trust is emotional gravity. Once it shifts, everything else follows. You'll notice the change in her demeanor when she mentions him. A subtle softening of her voice, a flicker of genuine excitement. The glow you used to create now belongs to his presence. She is building a safe harbor for her soul outside of your relationship. By the time this external emotional release becomes her default, you are no longer competing for attention. You are fighting for emotional territory that has already been claimed. The decode emotional cheating begins the moment she stops feeling safe to open up to you. She seeks empathy and validation. When another man provides this consistent, low-stakes emotional refuge, he becomes her new anchor. Every shared secret builds a bridge between their hearts, slowly starving your connection, your action. Reclaim your role as her primary confidant by being genuinely present and non-reactive when she shares. More importantly, focus on being a man who listens to understand, not to fix. However, if the trust transfer is already blatant, you must address the boundary firmly. Don't chase her empathy. Focus on being a man whose life is so compelling and focused that her emotional dramas do not hijack your frame. 2. Withdrawal and emptiness. She's emotionally distant. Emotional distance is the physical manifestation of the internal shift. She might still sit next to you on the couch, still share a bed, and still participate in the routine, but her eyes no longer land on you the way they used to. This stage is the withdrawal phase. She is slowly pulling her emotions back. Not because she is angry, that comes later, but because she is preparing for detachment. Her mind is building a world where your presence isn't necessary. The conversation that used to flow effortlessly now feels like a chore, dying within seconds. The silence between you is no longer peaceful, it's empty. You'll notice her laughing more freely at something on her phone than at anything you say. Men often excuse this as stress, hormones, or being tired. But distance isn't random. It's a symptom of transferred attention. She's mentally packing her bags. What she's moving isn't her physical belongings. It's her feelings and investment. She is rationing her emotional expenditure because she's dedicating that energy to the person or fantasy that provides her current validation. You feel it in the lack of shared touch, the polite second but cold tone, and the absence of spontaneous laughter. This quiet indifference is dangerous because it provides no confrontation, no fight you can win. It's the sound of her heart slowly closing the door. The decode emotional distance is the result of transferred emotional investment. She is with you physically, but her mind and spirit are already elsewhere. She is avoiding genuine connection because it reminds her of the conflict she is experiencing internally. Emotional absence always precedes physical distance. Your action do not chase the distance by increasing your affection or questions. This screams insecurity. Instead, match her withdrawal with renewed focus on your purpose. Use her physical presence and emotional absence as a catalyst to solidify your frame. Let her feel the natural consequence of her distance, that you continue to thrive and grow without her active involvement. If she returns to engagement, welcome it. If she maintains distance, you are emotionally prepared. 3. Dangerous secrecy. She starts hiding conversations. The phone becomes the single greatest artifact of emotional betrayal. It's the small screen where her new world is being built. You notice her phone is always face down. Notifications are turned off. The moment you enter the room, the screen instantly goes dark, an instinctual act of protection for her secrets. She will insist you're paranoid and that everyone deserves privacy. And she's right about privacy. But there's a vital difference. You must recognize that privacy is about boundaries. Secrecy is about guilt. When she starts guarding her communications like a private diary, it's not random. It's an admission that the energy and content of those conversations do not align with her stated commitment to you. The messages might not be physically sexual, but they are emotionally intimate, exciting, and risky. She's building an emotional escape route. Every hidden message is a thread she is pulling away from the established fabric of your relationship. She knows, deep down, that this intimacy with another man is crossing an invisible but critical line. She hides it not because the conversations are dangerous, but because they are emotionally satisfying and they provide validation faster than your actual presence. The decode, hiding the phone, is a physical acknowledgement of an emotional omission. She is aware she is prioritizing validation from an external source. She is not protecting your relationship. She is protecting the story that allows her to keep engaging in the behavior. Your action: do not snoop. Do not ask for her password. That breaks your frame and makes you the bad guy. Instead, focus on the behavioral shift. Address the secrecy, not the content. State clearly, I notice your phone is always protected and communication dies when I enter. Secrecy is a boundary violation in trust, regardless of the content. That behavior needs to stop. Hold the line. A man with high self-respect addresses the behavior that indicates a breach of trust, not the specific content of the threat. 4. Psychological audit. She compares you to another man. When a woman starts comparing you to another man, a coworker, a friend, an acquaintance, it is a clear sign that you are undergoing a psychological audit in her mind. You hear his name too often. He's so driven. He actually listens. He's really funny. At first you may dismiss it, but the constant references start to sound like a quiet, running verdict against you. Comparison is never about admiration in this context, it's about displacement. She isn't trying to inspire you to be better, she is mentally auditioning a replacement to justify her shifting emotions. She is searching for evidence that you are the reason the connection has faded, making it easier to accept the new emotional bond. You are no longer the reference point. You have become the control group. Every flaw you have feels amplified, and every difference between you and the new man feels deliberate. She's focusing on the emotional contrast he represents, his validation versus your perceived lack of effort. In her mind, she has already stepped out of the emotional center of the relationship and into the fantasy of, what if? The decode comparison signals that the fuel of attraction, admiration, has faded for you and is being transferred elsewhere. The emotional loyalty is already compromised. She is seeking justification for her emotional drift by framing you as insufficient. Your action. Do not defend yourself against the comparison. Do not apologize or try to emulate the other man. That validates her critique and destroys your frame. Instead, recognize the comparison as a red flag and an emotional test. State your value simply and confidently, or better yet, disengage and increase your focus on your purpose. A high-value man does not compete for the primary role in his own relationship. 5. Emotional recession. She no longer celebrates your wins. The loss of enthusiasm for your successes is the sign of an emotional recession. There was a time when your victories felt like oars. Her genuine pride and joy made your success feel exponentially bigger. But now you share good news, a promotion, a project win, a personal achievement, and all you get is a distracted, "That's nice," or cold indifference. This signals a shift. She is not cold, she is disconnected. A woman who is emotionally invested in you cannot help but mirror your highs. When she stops reacting with authentic joy, it's not because she doesn't care about the result. It's because she no longer feels part of the process. Her energy has shifted from being your support system to being focused on her own emotional escape. You'll notice her mind drifting, reserving the best version of her empathy and her spontaneous celebration for the person who now inspires her. The decode. The absence of celebration is the sound of her emotional investment withering. She has rerouted her admiration and validation. Her heart is reserving that applause for someone else, someone who makes her feel seen and inspired. This indifference is a sign that the shared future vision has fractured. Your action. Do not beg for applause or point out her lack of enthusiasm. Celebrate your own wins. Find validation in your achievements and your purpose. If you stop seeking her validation, the absence of her applause loses its power over you. A man whose self-worth is internally generated remains strong regardless of external applause. 6. Contagion of guilt. She's constantly irritated or distant without reason. This is the phase where her internal conflict leaks out as external noise. Suddenly, everything you do is irritating. The way you eat, the way you talk, the jokes she once loved now make her sigh. You naturally ask, what did I do wrong? The truth is, her irritation is no longer about you. It's about the battlefield in her own mind. She is torn between the guilt of caring for someone else and the reality of still being with you. This internal tension doesn't vanish. It externalizes as anger and coldness. She picks fights over nothing, becomes short-tempered, and is impossible to soothe. And while you are trying to apologize and fix the problem, she is not looking for resolution. She is looking for justification. If she can successfully convince herself that you are the problem, controlling, insensitive, annoying, it becomes much easier for her to quiet the voice inside her that knows she is the one changing. It is self-protection disguised as frustration, emotional guilt translated into noise. The decode. Her constant irritation is a defense mechanism to maintain her narrative. She is creating distance through conflict to justify her need for an external emotional refuge. The more you chase her calm by over-explaining and over-apologizing, the more power you give her storm, and the more grounds she has to feel justified in her emotional detachment. Your action. Do not chase the irritation. Hold your frame. Respond to her anger with measured composure. If she picks a fight over trivial things, calmly address the behavior, not the content. I'm not going to argue about that. We can talk when you're calmer. Withdraw your emotional energy from the conflict. Force her to sit with her own internal conflict, rather than allowing her to project it onto you. 7. The new fantasy. She starts idealizing someone new. As her emotional distance grows, She needs a place to project the vision of love and connection she feels she is missing. This is the stage of idealization. She starts talking about the other man, or a fictionalized version of him, with the kind of admiration that was once reserved for you. He's so driven. He really gets me. This isn't just a compliment, it's a projection. He becomes a mirror, not of who he actually is, but of the emotional fulfillment she longs for. She's not in love yet, but she is mentally engaging in a fantasy. Emotional infatuation doesn't start with reality, it starts with longing. And once longing finds a face, it builds momentum. She is rewriting the emotional script she used to have with you, transferring the lead role to someone else. The crucial warning: if you question this admiration, she will become defensive. To her, this friendship feels pure, even though it's clearly crossing invisible boundaries. She is not describing him, she is describing the man she wishes you still were. The decode idealization is the mind's way of creating an emotional contrast that justifies breaking the existing bond. You have become the memory she is outgrowing, and the new man is the inspiration for her future. Your action: do not try to compete with a fantasy. Never try to be like the man she is idealizing. Instead, reaffirm your reality and your frame. Be the man of substance, purpose, and self-control. Let her chase the illusion if she must. Your stability is the only thing that can eventually pull her out of the fantasy, provided she hasn't already made her final decision. 8. Linguistic shield. She starts justifying her behavior at this critical stage. She stops hiding and stops rewriting the narrative. Her words are carefully chosen, not to explain, but to deflect and control the frame. You hear the classic phrases: "We're just friends," "You're overreacting," "You don't trust me." This rationalization is a powerful defense mechanism. It protects her from guilt by making you the one at fault. She frames your suspicion as insecurity, your questions as control, and your hurt as paranoia. Once she convinces herself of this narrative, she can continue her behavior while maintaining a sense of moral superiority. This is where men make a fatal mistake. They start apologizing just to keep the peace. They try to prove they are not insecure, effectively surrendering their ground. The more you explain, the more she reframes. The more you chase logic, the deeper she hides behind emotion. The decode. When a woman starts defending her actions more fiercely than she defends the relationship itself, understand that she is no longer protecting the bond. She is protecting the story that allows her to keep doing what she's doing. Trust is an outcome, not a request. The moment she has to ask for it, it is already broken. Your action: hold the line on your reality. Do not let her weaponize your emotions. When she says, "You should trust me," respond with a calm, frame-holding statement. Trust is earned by consistent behavior, not requested with accusations. State your boundaries clearly and firmly. If she continues to rationalize, withdraw your energy. You cannot reason with someone who is looking for justification, not truth. 9. The final exit. She says she needs space. The request for space is the final soft landing step of her emotional exit. You hear the words: "I just need time for myself. I need space to think." Men often mistake this for hope, that she will reflect and miss them. This is rarely true. When a woman says she needs space, it means the emotional distance is already completed in her mind. This request is simply the physical expression of an exit that has been weeks or months in the making. The calm you observe in her is not peace, it is closure. There is no desperation because she has already detached. She is not looking to reconnect. She is creating room for a life where you no longer exist at the center. She has concluded. The decode space is meant for moving on, not missing. The connection you are trying to revive doesn't live there anymore. Her request is an ultimatum based on a decision already made internally. Your action. You cannot negotiate with emotional distance. You must honor her request, but with frame. Grant the space immediately without negotiation, begging, or checking in. Use this time to implement the principles of absence, reclaim your purpose, rebuild your frame, and redirect all your energy back to your own worth. If she returns, she must return to a man who is stronger, more focused, and unapologetically self-respecting. If she doesn't, you are already moving forward on your own path. You have just decoded the silent language of betrayal. You've seen the 9 invisible shifts that mark a woman's emotional exit. The true tragedy of emotional cheating isn't the betrayal itself. It's the neglect that allowed it to happen. It's the slow, quiet drainage of connection that makes her turn her heart elsewhere. Most men miss it because they're looking for a scandal, not a subtle shift in energy. Now, you have the awareness. And awareness is your new weapon. You cannot control her desire to drift, but you can absolutely control how you respond. Your power doesn't come from trying to expose her, fix her, or win her back through begging. That only confirms your low frame. Real power comes from understanding what happened and choosing to reclaim your presence. A man who understands emotional distance doesn't beg for attention. He stops chasing the symptom, the arguing, the coldness, and redirects that energy inward. He uses this pain as a signal to rebuild his focus, his strength, and his purpose. If you are currently feeling this distance, stop seeing it as a personal rejection. See it as a redirection. It's a loud alarm telling you that you've been ignoring your own mission and self-worth for too long. It's time to move past being the victim of her actions and become the architect of your own future. Reaffirm your boundaries. Commit to your growth. Let your silence be the final, confident answer. Hit subscribe to the Female Code. We teach men how to transform painful realities into unstoppable personal power. Control your world, and the relationship dynamic is forced to follow.